Here we go. What's up, YouTube? Straight Facts Homie live again, reacting to the Patriots losing again, this time to the Las Vegas Raiders. We will do that right now. Let us begin. Let me get my timer rolling. Here we go. In 3, 2. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into the one and only Straight Facts Homie TV show, talking everything football over the next 60 minutes or so. My name is Mason Souza. Alongside, as always, is the guys that know their football. There's Walter Sabina and John Lyons. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We are live on YouTube, reacting for the first quarter, reacting to the Patriots that took place Sunday afternoon as they fall to 1-5. Things look dreadful. Things look barren, look like a wasteland. There was some signs of life from the Patriots, but be that as it may, a loss is a loss. Walter, let me pass it to you to begin your takeaway. The Patriots falling to 1-5.
Yeah, and you look at this game. This was a game that they could have taken to jumpstart any sort of comeback or any hope of this season. So now they sit at 1-5 after this loss. But in the fourth quarter of the last show, I said that the Patriots were going to continue what they were doing against the Cowboys and the Saints, and it was just going to be, a cluster, of offense. And for the first 2 drives, it was that. But then they started to get some semblance of an offense. They started running the ball well. Mac Jones was throwing the ball pretty well, but that one interception, which I'm sure we'll discuss, was brutal, led to 3 points, which, in the end, almost it kind of made a difference when you look at the Patriots and how they went about that final drive. But there were signs of offense today. Kendrick Bourne got involved. They ran the ball a little bit. I mean, 83 yards isn't great, but it's a start for the Patriots and what they weren't doing the last couple of weeks. So, but overall, I think just a huge missed opportunity here, a chance to go on the road. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down with the back injury. I thought it was initially an ankle injury because he was limping, but he was all sorts of beat up, taken to a local hospital. And that was the chance. They bring in Brian Hoyer. We were texting during the game, and there's no way we can let Brian Hoyer beat us in the second half of that game. And not to say he beat us, but he was carving us up a little bit in the third quarter, and he did just enough to beat us. So, just in my opinion, missed opportunities, having a second string quarterback in, playing relatively well on offense, getting the stops on defense. You got that turnover with the huge hit from Jabril Peppers. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but in my opinion, just overall a missed opportunity to, jumpstart a turnaround for your season after these last 2 miserable weeks.
Yeah, look, I thought the Patriots showed a lot more fight than the last couple of weeks. I thought they, made some more plays. They were in it at the end, but for the third time this season, guys, the Patriots lost a game due to their own mistakes more than anything else the other team did. You look in this game, they had 10 penalties for 79 yards. Look at those penalties. A Hunter Henry hold negates a 74-yard touchdown catch and run by Zeke Elliott. You have a J.C. Jackson hold that negates a third down stop on the Raiders' final drive, which cost the Patriots not only more time, but more yards. They had a delay of game right before the final safety at the end of the game as well, right? Then you have the Mac Jones costly interception when the Patriots are driving down the field. They have the ball at the Raiders 30, throw an interception, right? So it just felt like mistake after mistake. I mean, even you mentioned Brian Hoyer came in. He throws a 48-yard pass to help set up the score. I mean, Jonathan Jones thought he was going to get safety help over the top and nobody came. Like, it just felt like it was mistake after mistake. And again, showed better fight, didn't make as many catastrophic mistakes. I guess we can, say there's some progress. We didn't throw any pick sixes today. There were no fumble recoveries for touchdowns, but it was still just their mistakes to me were the story of this game. And that's the most frustrating piece, guys, because we could be looking at a team that's 4-2 and instead they're 1-5. If they just didn't make huge mistakes against the Eagles, Dolphins, or Raiders, they probably win all 3 of those games. But now we're sitting here at 1-5, and it's an unfortunate, first 6 weeks of the season. They're in a bad spot as a football team. And I feel like a lot of the narratives around this team and a lot of the talk are the things that we've spent 20 years looking around the NFL and saying, hey, that's what bad football teams do, right? We're complaining about the head coach. We're complaining about, did they pay enough guys on the roster? We're thinking free agency is a solution, right? We're talking about backup quarterback and how, the third string guy on the practice squad will give us a spark and it'll be fun. Like, this is the things that the Jets spent 15 years talking about and the Dolphins spent 20 years talking about. And now we're talking about then it's not, this is not a good football team. It's a good defense, but it's not a good football team. And that's why we are where we are and what we're talking about.
It truly is insane how far Patriots fans have come, like you were saying, John, about talking about the conversation of like, oh, I wonder who the three other teams in the championship games will be besides the Patriots.
Yeah,
Now
it
it's
used to be
like
the Patriots Invitational. Now,
exactly. And the big theme on this show is roll out of the bed, win the division, be in the divisional round, and then we'll go. And then the season begins mid-January. And now we're like, all right, Caleb Williams is in the cards, right? You know, as we're a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. That's sad, man.
what
That's
bad teams do.
pathetic.
Bad teams even sit here and say what I said, like, oh, they would have won these few games if they didn't make these mistakes. Like, that's what bad football teams talk about every year.
It's a lot of ifs, a lot of if they did this, if they did that. Yeah. And Bill has said many times, Bill Belichick, it comes down to 1 or 2 or 3 plays. Can you execute? And they've shown for the last 2.5 years now that they can't. They fooled me for a second. I saw Jimmy Garoppolo leave, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Backup. You know, this is how we win. We need a backup. We need a young quarterback or an old veteran like Brian Hoyer to come in for the Patriots to get a fumble recovery for a score or whatever. Like, okay, here we go. Here's the drive at the end of the game to finally get the game-winning drive for the first time in 2 seasons since Mac's rookie year. And then, John, you tweeted this, like a microcosm of the Patriots season so far. A great ball, one of the few of the year for Mac Jones, right in Devontae Parker's hands down the left sideline, drop, flat out drop. The 80-20 ball turns into a 0% ball now when you're targeting Devontae Parker. And then what was it?
80% incomplete.
Correct. And then a false start or illegal shift, whatever it was. I think that was maybe on the drive.
No,
previous.
that was the delay of game, though. On the final drive was delay of game. You're right. So, but a penalty, yeah.
Just yes, something dysfunctional happened, and then obviously the safety. Yeah, so shame on me, egg on my face for thinking like, oh no, they have a chance here. Yeah, chance at what? Chance at a top 5 pick, and hopefully it's not traded down. That's all I'm going to say. Walter, back to you.
Yeah, and you know, we're looking at that final drive. Mac Jones gets sacked. Mac Jones was sacked 3 times today, and he's going to catch a lot of the flack for what happened today.
And he should.
He should, but I don't think he should be getting all of it because the offensive line was terrible. Max Crosby on that safety made Hunter Henry look terrible. You know, all the other linemen they had, Lowe or whoever was playing right tackle over there got absolutely abused, and not just on that final drive. Like all game, Mac Jones felt like he was getting rushed. They couldn't do anything. They were blocking enough to, you know, be able to run the ball finally. So at least we have that phase of our offense going. And then it kind of comes back full circle to like, we don't have the talent offensively. You mentioned the long pass to Devontae Parker. You got to reel that in. And we got the ball at the Raiders 45-yard line. And we got to get maybe another 10 yards to get in the field goal range for our rookie kicker. And, you know, we just we're going to look at that safety and everyone's going to laugh at Mac Jones or that interception, which again, he should get 100% blame for that. But I just look overall at the talent and mainly right at the offensive line. And if you can't protect your quarterback, you're not going to go anywhere. And you saw that today. Max Crosby was having a field day just teeing off on our lineman getting to Mac Jones. So, I mean, if we're pointing the finger at like where the blame is, I think you got to just point the finger at everyone, you know, the skill guys, the running backs, the line, Mac Jones, Belichick, Bill O'Brien. I feel like Bill O'Brien's sort of been flying under the radar with this. And again, it's not his fault that he doesn't have the talent, but you've got to adjust to maybe run an offense that can flow. And maybe he thinks that he can get it done with this offense, but the last 3 weeks have proven that you can't really get it done like that. And then it kind of goes back to Bill saying, you know, you didn't get me the talent, and we're seeing it in front of us. So pretty much all I'm saying is Mac Jones, he deserves blame, but I think there's enough blame and finger pointing to go around everyone on the offense and even the whole team, because, you know, you can see it with Matt Judon not in the lineup. Keon White goes down early in the game and they really can't get to Jimmy Garoppolo or Brian Hoyer for that matter. And it's just tough to watch at times because it's not working offensively. And I said last week, it gets your defense frustrated, but you know, they were getting the stops. We did get some points today, but there's still lots of blame to go around on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Mac Jones is going to get most of it unfairly, but we will have to see how he just continues to rebound from it. But because, like I said, there's a lot of blame to go around.
Yeah, and I think there were several bright spots in this game. I thought Kendrick Bourne played really well. Zeke Elliott, I thought this was his best game as a Patriot, just looks wise. Stevenson looked pretty good in this game. And it was, I mean, Tyquan Thornton, they didn't really complete anything to him, but it was nice to see them at least try that. But again, there were some bright spots in this game, but when it came down to it, it's another example of when they needed to make the key plays, they couldn't, right? Week 1 against the Eagles, they have a drive with a chance to win the game. They fail. Week 2 against Miami, they have a drive at the end of the game to tie it. They fail. Week 3 against the Jets, they have 3 separate drives in the last 6 minutes to run out the clock. They fail all 3 times. Today, they have a drive at the end of the game to try to win it. They fail again. I mean, they are consistently failing at the end of these games on offense. I mean, their defense gave up 19 points. In the NFL, you got to win that game. It's the same thing happened in week 1 against Philly. Defense gave up 18 points and they lost. Even against Dallas, they lost 38-3. I know their defense gave up 2 touchdowns in that game. Like, it's, if I was a defensive player, I'd be really frustrated. And it was nice though. Like I said, we did see some bright spots on offense. So can they build on what Kendrick Bourne gave them today, especially when Pop Douglas comes back? You know, can they build on some of the Zeke Elliott and Stevenson, runs today when they get Onwenu and Reef back? Like, that would be nice to see. Maybe that'll help them win some games. But I mean, as you sit here at 1-5 and your offense has been costing you, now call it 3 games now, it's a tough pill to swallow. And it's just a tough, really tough place to be in for a team that, despite their talent issues, should be better than 1-5.
That's John Lyons. There's Walter Sabina and Mason Souza. We are Straight Facts Only, reacting to the Patriots loss to the Raiders as they go to 1-5 on the season, live on YouTube. I see Tom in the chat right here. The worst thing they can do right now, meaning the Patriots, is start winning. That's no joke, honestly. I fully agree with that, because hear me out here. If somehow, some way they turn this around and they start winning games and they turn it, somehow make it a 500 season, a 500 team now, which I don't believe. Like, maybe we can talk about our revised record for the Patriots this year, because it's not 8-9, 9-8, in my opinion. But if somehow they get to that, I feel like, I'm just going to say it. Stubborn old Bill is going to go to Kraft and his uppers, be like, listen, we turned it around. Things are okay. It's just going to be the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing, expecting different results. And we're going to do this again. So I pray that is not the case. This is the wake-up call that the Patriots need to blow it up. Does that mean move the head coach? Possibly. Does it mean wholesale changes of personnel? Possibly. Does it mean players? Absolutely. That's where you start. And then you move on down the line, depending on how bad it truly gets. Is this rock bottom? Is it not? We'll see, as they have a high-powered offense. The Dolphins, correct? Next week. Or no, Bills.
Bills next
anyway,
week, then
doesn't
Dolphins.
matter. And a team with an incredible offense, better than yours currently.
Yeah.
How about 79 before they finally got in the end zone? It took 40 drives to get in the end zone. 79 unanswered points was the worst in 23 years. The Cleveland Browns. Did you see that graphic? The Browns of 2000. I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw that. Not great, Bob. No, not great at all. That was pretty sad. And it just goes back to the first go around of, John, you mentioned it. This is like how the fall from grace, in the last 5 years or more.
Yeah, it's sad. Like,
it's
more than anything else. Like, I think it just sucks. Like, you know what I mean? It's just tough to watch. Like, a team that was smarter than everyone, won those games, those tight games all the time. And not just with Tom Brady. Like, they did it with Matt Castle. They did it with Mac Jones in his rookie year, even a handful of times with Cam Newton. Like, there was always making like those right plays. You always had confidence that they would be in a game. And now it's just, it's a really radical departure from what it's been for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, one of the stats I have here, they said right before halftime when Mac Jones threw that interception, is the Patriots are being outscored 58-0 on points off turnovers. So opponents, and it's directly from our offense at times with the pick sixes, are scoring points off of our turnovers. And when when our defense, like you saw it today, you get the interception off the huge hit on Devontae Adams, we immediately go 3 and out. We actually went backwards 9 yards instead of going forward. So our offense isn't taking advantage of these opportunities that the defense is giving us, and then we're putting our defense in terrible spots, turning the ball over if we're not allowing a touchdown the other way, or allowing them to get a big return and then putting our defense in a short field. Now today they were good in the red zone, getting some stops, but overall you can't put your defense in situations like that. And I know all the guys in the locker room, we can't point fingers, we can't do this and that, but I think at some point, if this continues, there's gonna be separation in the locker room. The defense can do all they can, they're trying to do all they can, and then the offense is just kind of puttering along, can't do anything. They can't capitalize on what the defense is doing with turnovers. So they got to stick together. But I mean, at 1-5, you're doing everything you can defensively. Offense can't do much of anything. It's going to cause, in my opinion, some separation in the locker room. We may not hear of it, but I don't think things are heading the right way. And as you guys have just mentioned, it's like, it sucks to watch, because for the last 20 years, all we saw was other teams doing it and we got to laugh at them. And now we're living for it. We're living through it at this point. Yeah.
And another thing, like icing on the cake in all this, is like the massive injury issues that have come up for this team too. So it's like, their two best players, Christian Gonzalez and Matt Judon, both out potentially for the rest of the year. Devontae Parker's been bad, but I also don't know if he's fully healthy. You've had a bunch of injuries on the offensive line. Stevenson went out for part of the game today. It's like, even the good players they do have are getting hurt and having issues. I mean, they were down, and Romo mentioned this on the broadcast, their top 4 corners at one point in this game were not on the field, so due to injuries. So it's just, they're not playing well. They're against a tough schedule, and they have injuries on top of it. It's just a really perfect storm of things that are killing them right now. I mean, I guess we can have some fun sayings for the rest of the year, like, crash for Caleb, be a disaster for Drake, miserable for May. We got some good sayings that we can cut. That's probably the most fun I think we might have for at least the next few weeks, unfortunately. Well,
you had Malik
horrible
Madness
for Harrison Jr.
There you go.
If you want that. But yeah.
Speaking of Malik, they're your second string quarterback. So let's put him at wide receiver to start the game. It's just like another head scratcher I have. I'm glad you mentioned Romo. And as we end this segment here, because we could go on and on, I'm going to call it out for what it is, because obviously the head coach, if people don't know, they get with the 2 broadcasters of the game the day before. So they give them material, maybe something you don't tell the media up in the week, the press conferences, give them a little something so they can talk about during the broadcast. Romo, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he came out strong with the excuses for Belichick and the Patriots. About John, you mentioned, yes, rightfully so. Christian Gonzalez seemed like he was the best corner on the team first couple of weeks of the year. Matt Judon, obviously best player on that defense, but there was a lot going on and on, at least the first half of the game. Eventually, like, he got a little more balanced as the game went on, but it seemed like there was a little bit of agenda to say, like, oh, they've been dealing with some things there. This isn't as bad a team as you think. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are, Tony. Finally, in the chat, Shane here, Patriots find new ways to lose every week. Yeah, they've turned into like the Chargers, but I would kill to be a team like the Chargers at this point with a high-powered offense. So again, we could go on and on, but unfortunately, or fortunately for some, we will move on to the second quarter, talk about everything else in week 6, and move on. Thanks for watching live on YouTube as the Patriots fall 21-17 to the Raiders, leave Vegas losers, and we'll see if they can somehow, some way turn it around. Fingers crossed. Let's not get our hopes up. Thank you, everyone, for watching the first quarter. Let's move on. Second quarter, straight facts only.